Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Rena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started.
Howdy, howdy.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. Okay, so some updates for you.
Fill me in.
So last time I was here in the closet with you, I was just, steam coming out of my ears and just at the end of my level of frustration and, woe is me, right? And, we don't, obviously we don't script. We're just
completely unscripted.
talking.
Yes.
And so stuff flies out of my mouth, and I mostly don't know what's coming out of my mouth when it's happening.
Until you listen to it.
And I do go back and listen because I think I miss a lot of your feedback and a lot of your learning points. Okay. And I'm always like, oh, yeah, she did say that, or wait, she said that, I had a question about that, whatever it is. So I go back to listen to really your advice.
Yeah.
And then also secondary to go, what was coming out of my mouth? Because I don't know if I had a coherent sentence or not. So I won't say it's probably the first time. I think it's the first time I'm aware of it coming back to bite me in my little hiney, my not so little hiney. So if I remember correctly, what we were talking the last couple of episodes was feedback and communication and all of that. And so what has happened since then, my associate and I, so if y'all haven't been listening, we were just kind of not getting along there for a little bit. And so we had a meeting set up to air our grievances, if you will. And so we had that. And so I will say it was a very good meeting in that I think so the downside was, I don't know that anything, I don't know that he changed his mind on anything. I don't know that I changed my mind on anything, but I think just being able to communicate, we both felt a lot better.
Good.
I think for me, okay, so let me start this and then I'll end it on a positive.
Yeah.
I think, one thing that he was very frustrated with was he's like, some of the things you said on this podcast, now you've said it and it's out there across the country. And do I look like a fool or do I look like, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Cause I hadn't gone back and listened yet. And he had just listened to it that day. And he's like, well, you said basically what grade are we in? Am I, now everybody thinks I'm juvenile and I was just like, did I really say that? So I went back and I listened. I was like, oh God, you idiot, Kuba. Maybe I do need to filter. Maybe we do need a script a little bit here.
Maybe I'm going to become a really good editor after this.
Yes, maybe you need to start editing because you don't even edit, right? We just talk and we put it out there.
And all the junk is in there.
And all the kids running in the background and all of that. So I wanted to make a public apology to him, to my associate, first of all, because I did not mean to convey that at all. So I do want to apologize. I do want to apologize to the audience because God only knows what I've said over the last 2 years that I'm sure he can't be the first person I've offended, right? And my thoughts for him were, okay, I don't think anybody took that away about you. Yeah. If anything, they took away about me. Look at this.
Which I think is what you were trying to do.
Well, and I think that's why I'm so raw on here, because I think that's what we don't get enough of. Yeah. And when people paint this picture of a rosy picture, it either makes you feel bad because you're like, oh, I don't have that rose world. Or I'm like, you're full of nonsense.
Yeah.
It can't be that good. Stop it now. And so for me, I'm like, I think you have, you've saved me from selling the practice. You save me every day. You save me in therapy bills, right? So to me, the advice you have is so valuable. And I know that's why you do the podcast, is because not everybody can be a client. I don't want people to be your client and you get less time. I get less time and access to you. Exactly. So for me, it's if I can get on here and be an honest, real jackass and add some, I view myself as the comic relief here. And I make myself laugh. So, right. But again, the intention is never to be offensive.
Yeah.
And I think for my associate, I would liken to say probably 90% of the audience is bless you, man.
Poor
like,
guy.
are you made of Teflon? Like, you have to deal with her all day long. So I really don't think anybody thought less of him. If
Right.
anything, you probably thought, like, there she goes again, you, whatever you're babbling. So, and my comment to him was, how about all the good things I say about you?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, like, kind of like with the reviews, we
Yeah.
always hone in on the bad one. And I'm like, okay, so I better make sure that I'm very clear that, I told him I wouldn't be entertaining. I wouldn't keep you in my office
Right.
if you weren't bringing so many good things.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I appreciate that he's humble about all the good things that he brings, and he's not even aware of all the good things.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted to make a very public apology to him and to anybody else that I've offended. I don't mean any offense. I'm just talking. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
until afterwards. So, and again, I think that is the way that we intended this podcast to go, which means it's not perfect. It's not 100% whatever politically correct or we're just, it's a dialogue between two people that are in this, that are witnessing so many dramatic things. You're experiencing your own dramatic things. And we do I hear from feedback from people almost on a weekly basis. Like, that was so helpful. I love knowing I'm not alone. And sometimes you're right. It's like, oh, so glad I haven't had to go through that. I'm glad she's going through it and not me. And so it really is meant to be super raw. But to your point, sometimes that rawness can unintentionally inflict some wounds in the process. So
yes.
I hated that he felt bad about that.
I did too. I felt awful. And I wanted to hug him, but he's not a hugger, so I didn't hug him. But I just need everybody to know he is an amazing person, and I'm very lucky that he shows up to work, and he's an amazing dentist, and that is going on the record.
Yes.
And this is me knowing I am saying that. I'm not just babbling now.
Yeah. This is very intentional. You did script
very
this.
Intentional. I did. In my head, I scripted this. Okay. So to move on from that, and I'll talk to another topic, the next thing that happened in my world this week, one was that conversation with him that I had been dreading, and it went fine. So I guess the summary of that is, even when we dread these conversations, I think they're just important to have. Yeah. And I rarely have I had I can't think of one in the years of the practice where I've been dreading a conversation and it actually went so bad after. Like, the majority, I feel so much better, right? Even though I don't know that there was a lot of resolution either way, just the fact that we could sit and talk, and in a respectful manner. He was so respectful. Yeah. Even though I know he's probably irritated with me about a lot of things, he was so respectful. He was so, for a guy who doesn't talk much, he really has good things to say, and really can say them very well. Yeah. So it was a very productive thing. So my takeaway from that is, if you're shying away from a conversation, just
do it.
Just dig in and do it.
Yeah.
Because I feel so much better.
Yeah.
The other piece of drama thing that happened this week was, I don't know, we'd have to go back. Maybe we can go back and look at it and put it in the notes of like podcasts to revisit. Yeah. But probably about a year-ish ago, I had an incident in the office. I wasn't even there, but it was a new patient, 2-year-old, who climbed up on a gaming console in our office. It came crashing down. She gashed her lip open, whatever. So I won't rehash all the details there. I know we did an episode about it.
I'll connect it back to that. We did.
Okay.
We did.
So fast forward. That was like probably September, October of 2022. Mm-hmm. And a month ago, a constable came into my office and served me with papers that I was being sued. So I'd kind of forgotten about the incident. Mm. And like a year later, here it's come rearing its ugly head. The constable was a whole nother, I've got another episode for you on that that we can laugh about now, but
in the moment it was.
In the moment. So I did not handle the constable very well, but there's a reason for that. And so maybe next week's episode can be about that. We got to come back to that. Anywho. So I'm like, oh, this is happening. So I'm officially getting sued here. So I reached back out to the company to my liability company and said, okay, here's the paperwork. Like, what do I need to do now? So this has been going on for the last month or so. And I kind of had heard, but didn't hear from, I got an email saying, hey, I'm your lawyer assigned to this case. And, I've always been, because I kind of, hear about state board stuff, like that's the lawsuit, or that's the thing that I'm thinking about is a patient care issue. And I've always wondered, like, who do you get assigned to? Do you get assigned to a crappy lawyer, a good lawyer? Like, I just never know. And so now this guy, I'm like, are you a crappy lawyer? Are you going to fight for me? Are you supposed to make this go away? Are you really on my side? So anyway, so I sent him all the stuff, and of course they're like, okay, so I think I don't know if she's a paralegal or secretary or whatever, she calls me to kind of just talk to me and all of that. So this conversation probably happened about a month ago. And I was like, well, to me, I didn't do anything wrong. I have this gaming console. And so just for brief details, again, I have security cameras in my office just because I do. On one security camera, you can see that the mom turns her back to the kid. And I do feel bad for the mom. It was 8 seconds. Like, we can time it on the video. You can't exactly see what the kid was doing because it's not a camera that was in that room. But you can see her feet leave the floor. She steps up onto the stool that you're supposed to sit on. And I think she put all her weight on the console and it came crashing down. And to me, my argument is, well, this is a slam dunk. I've got a video showing that the mom wasn't watching her kid.
Right.
This should go away. Like, I don't even know why this is being pursued. And then we have signs up in our office, like the little sign that says you're responsible for watching your own kid, whatever it is. So in my mind, I'm covered. Like, this is stupid. Why are we, pursuing this? Well, that paralegal, whoever she was, secretary, was like, she was very direct, which I found kind of offensive initially. But then I was like, you know what? I kind of need this because she set my expectations properly. But I was like, well, y'all have the video. Like, why is this not going away? Because in my mind, I'm still going, the insurance company's paying this, like, cheap lawyer, and his job is to make this go away. He's not going to fight for me. And I'm trying to tell you, I've got a video showing you this mom wasn't watching her kids. This is not my fault. And she was like, yeah, no, we have the video. We've seen it. We've seen everything you submitted. But at the end of the day, you have to think about how this plays out for a jury. And a jury's going to go, well, even if the mom was watching the kid, how do we know the equipment wasn't faulty? Like, do you have logs showing that you maintain that? Do you have the information on the person who installed it? And Bethany, my jaw just dropped. I was like, are you effing kidding me? Yeah. Are you kidding me right now? So I guess my point of this episode is just, I think if I remember correctly, now that I'm thinking about it, we may have called that episode when the beep hits the fan.
Hits the fan, yep.
Yeah. And so I guess the point of this episode is just to say we are so focused on our dentistry and the staffing and all of that. And for me, this was a moment to kind of pause and go, okay, but we are business owners as well. And where we could get sued from an assistant that you discriminated against me, or you could get sued from a patient that you overdiagnosed, you underdiagnosed, And then here's the other element that as a business owner, I'm hoping everybody has liability insurance, or I don't know how it works with if you're leasing your space, but that shouldn't matter because the owner, whoever owns the building is not going to be responsible for the inside.
They're not going to be responsible. They have their own external outside of the building. So if anything happens in the parking lot or something like that, then the building owner is normally responsible for that, is always responsible for that. But inside the building, it falls on the doctor.
Yeah. And so then I went, okay, well, so basically you're telling me I have no recourse. Mm-hmm. Like there's nothing I can do. Like, should I just shut down my doors now? Because you're telling me that and that's where she was just like, the paralegal was like, I'm just trying to set your expectation. Like, we're going to fight this. We're going to see whatever. Anyway, a couple weeks go by, I get an email that says, hey, we've got a response ready. We'll call you to talk to you. Of course, never got the call. So finally, like, this week was going to be kind of slow for me. I had reached out the week before, said, hey, I've got some time on this day. Can we set up that call already? Right. And so the lady was like, well, no, the lawyer wants to come meet you and come see your space, which I was really
impressed by,
happy with. Yeah. Because I was like, okay, good. That sounds better. And it's so good that he did come by, because first of all, on the video, another thing that he pointed out was, because I was like, well, don't you see the mom is sitting outside the room? He's like, yeah, but the argument's going to be, maybe you didn't have seating inside. And she had no choice but to sit outside. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, God bless. And so then I'm like going, okay, what did our room used to look like? Because we did used to have seating in there.
Yeah.
Do I have any photos from back in the day if we've taken like patient photos in that room, or we used to have a tour in that room, like whatever? Because now we've changed the room.
I was going to say that room's completely changed now since that event.
And now I'm like, is that going to make me look bad? Like maybe I changed the room because I realized that, and that's not the case at all. But I'm like, oh, if this went to a jury, they might be like, aha, you changed your room because you saw that it was a hazard.
You knew it was unsafe, yeah.
So now I'm going back to look for photos and things like that. I'm sure we've got some somewhere, but God bless, it's going to take time to dig for those. But the point is, once he came in, we met in my consult room, we talked for a while, and then he's like, okay, let's look around your building and let's look at where the incident happened. And I said, okay, while I've got you here, can you maybe look at the office, be another set of eyes, things that you see that maybe we're missing that could be potential hazards?
Yeah.
Now, mind you, we also have, not for these reasons, but Scheduling Institute that we, get trainings from. And they've had us, they do a new patient experience training. Yeah. And they'll take the whole team out to the parking lot. They're like, how does it look like when you park? How does it look when you walk in? The walkway up, how does it smell? What does it sound like? Like, as a patient, what are you experiencing in here? Can we enhance that? What is the signage like? So all of those things they walk you through. So we have a monthly thing where we have somebody who does the walkthrough
on the team.
So like, for example, I never go up to the front. So if there's a couch that's ripped up, I would have no idea. But as a patient walking in, me walking in, sitting down going, ew, look at this ripped up couch.
Yeah.
What's the rest of the office look like? You know what I mean? Or there's that wall that has a big chip in it now.
Mm-hmm. Or a dirty ceiling tile. Or
right. Things that we don't see because it's our everyday. So we have these walkthroughs. And on that walkthrough is like, are there wires hanging out? Are there things? So we happen to have that anyway, not from a liability standpoint. And so I mentioned that to the lawyer. I was like, we should have this. He's like, that would be great if you could get me your logs, because it shows then that you guys do try to pay attention to things.
On a monthly basis.
Unfortunately, I've come to find now that when I ask my team for the logs, they're like, we shred the log after it's been addressed. So if there was a chip in the wall or a dirty tile and we change the tile, we don't have the log anymore. I'm like, ugh. So now my takeaway is, and maybe for listeners, my takeaway is, do the walkthrough for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Hang on to those logs.
Keep them. Yeah.
And honestly, we should have been keeping them anyway, because to me, I'm like, if there was a tile that is constantly getting dirty, do we have a leak? Like, is this if I'm like looking at it going, did nobody fix it? Oh, right. Wait, y'all did fix it. Oh, y'all fixed it 2 months before that. Oh, y'all fixed it 2 months. Something's not right here. You know what I mean? So I think not shredding the log is a good thing. Now, I look at that and I think about like new employees that are like, y'all do so many, why do y'all want? I mean, it just comes from experience, right? Like, there's times where things like this that bite you in the ass and you're like, damn it, we should have been XYZ.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just a little side note.
I think 2 takeaways on that. Do a walkthrough, because a lot of offices don't. So do a monthly walkthrough, and you'll want to create a checklist of not just somebody wandering around the office, but a checklist of what all are they checking in each room. And then I think the second takeaway is keep those.
Right. So I think from our viewpoint, most of it was from the lens of a new patient. Mm-hmm. And now we're adding on
safety.
I think we had a couple of safety things on there before. I think it was mostly wires. But anyway, so as this lawyer's there, I was like, can you please, just while you're here, take a look around? Because it's been a while since I've done it. Mm. And I was so embarrassed. And I was like, but you know what are some silver linings or good things that could come here? But as we're sitting in my consult room, we're looking around because kids are in there. And he's like, okay, this corner is rounded. That's good. All your diplomas and stuff are up above where they can't get on it. Although you've got a chair there, but if a kid were to step on that chair and try to grab at your diploma, this is a room where a parent, there's always going to be somebody in there. And I'm like, true, but we have parents in there where we may step out and the kids, so we need to maybe be careful of making sure, because the parent's never going to say, my kid climbed up there and pulled your diploma off.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you would think most parents would stop that from happening, but we've had plenty of parents that don't.
Yeah.
They just let their kids do whatever. Anyway, so he was like, all of that's fine, but we have one of those game toy thing, the kind you find in a doctor's office with a bead. You move the bead around the wire thing. Well, right behind that, we have an outlet. One outlet is not covered, which we've always, so I don't know when we got away from not covering the outlets. I found, just looking around the office, I found like 6 of them that weren't covered. Things that I walk by every day and I didn't even see
and just
that.
Didn't even notice.
Didn't notice it. And then we have a Glade plug-in down there. Well, a kid could easily grab that, splash the liquid on themselves, etc. So
you wouldn't even think about a Glade plug-in.
I wouldn't even think about the Glade plug-in. And why is it down there around the kid's toy? Who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah.
And then, so as we're walking around the office, he was checking other things. And so to me, I was like, okay, mental note, we need to check for these things. So I made a list. I'll kind of give y'all some
Yes, I was about to say some of the items I think would be really helpful.
Because I even put you on that email because I was like, Bethany, as you help other clients.
Be aware of these things.
These are the things that this lawyer who sees this all the time is like, this is where people get into trouble. Even down to, we have one of those arcade game things, but it's not the tall one, it's the short one. But he's like, but this has kind of a corner on it. And if a kid tripped and hit their head on that corner, I'm like, for the love of God.
Yeah.
But okay, fair point. Go get those rubber things and anything we can think of that has a corner.
Anything that has a corner.
So in the patient bathroom, we've got a normal level sink for adults, and then we've got a low level one for kids. I mean, we designed the office that way, 12, 13 years ago?
Yeah.
It's never been a problem, but he's like, yeah, but the corner of the adult sink, if a kid is standing at the kid's sink and walked, tripped and fell.
They could hit that corner.
And I'm like, it's not even a sharp corner, but fine. We'll cover that too, just for the illusion of safety.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so that's what he did. The other key thing that came out of it, though, is as we walked through and we went to the area where the incident happened, he was like, oh, this is such a small room. On the video, because the security camera is,
up on the ceiling
in a hole, 20, 30 feet away. He's like, this room looked gigantic.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, now this really bodes well for us, because even if the mom didn't have a seat to sit in here, it's like 4 feet from where she would have been from her kid.
Yeah.
So anyway, all of that to say, like, that made me feel better, but chances are this is still going to go. I mean, he's like, I'm just telling you now, this is going to be a long year for you. Don't worry in that it's not going to affect your livelihood. It's not going to affect your business. I don't think you'll be writing a check out of pocket. Can you imagine? Like, that hadn't even occurred to me. That hadn't even occurred to me. He's like, but don't worry about that. I'm like, well, now I'm worried. Yeah. But he's like, but it's just going to be a tedious, annoying year because I'm going to be emailing you to ask you for things. We're going to have to probably do depositions. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So, anyway, I guess, so nugget number 1, do walkthroughs. Nugget number 2, look at it from different perspectives.
Yeah.
Nugget number 3, don't shred those.
And this works for adult practices too, by the way. So I know we're focusing on it because of this child that got hurt in your practice, but, like I had one client that one of his patients tripped on the way out the door, and she blamed it on the rug. Now, nobody was there to witness it, but based on when he came around and saw her on the ground, he was like, the rug was not the issue. She didn't pick up her foot to get over this threshold that's there. He said it was very clear her feet were back behind the threshold. The rug was 100% in the right place, but is there anything we need to do to that threshold? Do we need to have a sign that says, watch your step? Do we need to move the rug just in case? Who knows? So just not even from a pediatric standpoint, but from just a general safety. If there's a rug in your waiting room that's always got a lifted corner, that's a potential hazard for somebody. So what can you do to fix that? So this whole idea of safety is kids, adults, anybody can file a suit if they get hurt within your practice in any way. So we got to think about it from all levels.
It's exhausting. It's nauseating. Okay, so I'm trying to look at this list of things that I think might be helpful. Sorry, give me just 1 second here. I should have had this. So to me, my global theme was we need to look at everything and see what kind of things, again, in my pedo practice, could a kid climb on? Could they trip and hit their head on? Could they pull off a wall and get hurt? And so I know, like you're saying in that general practice, but I think a lot of general dentists, they have, whether the kid's their patient or not, but kids accompany their parents. I'm going to say the geriatric route too. Like now I'm taking my dad to appointments, and I'm looking at that office in a whole different lens, going, could my dad trip on that? Could my dad slip on that? So just kind of thinking about it from that way. So like plug covers, lower cabinets. Like, to me, it's kind of disappointing that, we've got a lot of moms in my team, but I went to, when we were looking at the patient bathroom, he's like, what's in these cabinets? We open it and there's a spray of some sort in there. And I'm like, we should know better than leaving. And he's like, any chemicals, anything you've got in there, get that out of there. It should just be paper products, or buying those child safety lock things.
Or lock the cabinets.
And then I was like, well, what's in our cabinets in our consult room? Like I know years ago, when I used to pay more attention, we'd have that, but we've had staff turnover. And so God knows what they're putting down there. We've got another baby room that I'm like, I think a lot of things in there that are not secured down. So we need to maybe make some changes in there. And then, blah, 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 whatever. Okay. This was the other one that I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. Because y'all know how much signage we have to have up, right? Like, we've got all the stuff about, like, you need to sign up to say you can make a state board complaint. This is the number to call. This is the blah, blah, blah. I mean, there are 1,000 signs in our office already.
Yeah.
And we do have a sign up on the wall. I don't have a giant waiting room, right?
Yeah.
Like, and we've got it's not a tiny sign. It's like a 8x11 in a frame on the wall that says you're responsible to watch your own kid. And he's looking at it and he goes, yeah, but it's on that side wall. And a parent could say, I didn't see it. I'm like, we're going to play that game now?
Yeah.
Like, a parent could say anything.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the point. They could say anything. And so what is the smartest way I can mitigate that, I guess? Because I'm like, I can't get rid of a lot of these signs. Anyway, his point was, rather than have it on the wall, go ahead and put it on the reception desk. For me, I was like, there's so much garbage up there, but whatever. If that's like going to be the point to where you could say, how could you miss it? It's at the, I don't know. I go back and forth going, somebody could argue that there's too many signs up there.
How far do we take it?
Yeah, how far do we take it? But my takeaway then was, make sure the sign's not tiny. Maybe put it on yellow paper.
Yeah.
Now we turned that game area after this kid, like, pulled the console off the wall. We've got a hole and we've got all that to do. We ended up turning it into a coffee lounge because we'd never done that before because of all the safety concerns. What if we've got sedated kids? What if they drink something? Parents spills off hot coffee, whatever. Anyway, we've got a coffee lounge now. We have a gate, like a
toddler gate.
Yeah. But I don't have a sign.
Yeah.
So now we're going to create a sign that goes right outside there. Parent coffee lounge, adults only.
Right.
We've got these brash giraffes in my office. I'm like, we better put a sign up that says, don't climb on giraffes. Don't touch the giraffes. Like, so I guess to me, that's the nugget number, whatever. Put up signage.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I go and say, I mean, the minute I put up all these signs, somebody's going to say, well, it wasn't big enough. Well, it wasn't bright enough. Well, you got too many signs, like whatever. But I guess in this case, it is helping that I had, because I've got one sign that said, not responsible. You got to watch your kid. I've got another sign leading to the clinic area saying you're entering the clinic area, like, you need to watch your kid. There's equipment they could get hurt on.
Right.
I've got a sign in our break room for the staff that says we are not responsible for things that you've left out unlocked.
Yeah.
Because the staff does. We have lockers, but they leave their purses out. I'm like, it's not my fault if the guy who's coming to repair the washer and dryer comes in and steals your bag because you left it out.
Right.
Like, I have a sign up for that so that I can't get sued by my employee. I don't know, man. It's endless. The number of things.
It feels like overkill, but it's one more security measure.
Yeah. So, looking for any stray wires. Because we've got a lot of wires in the office. So just trying to make sure that they're as secure as can be. Anyway.
Yeah. I think just approaching your office, maybe even for the first time from just a safety standpoint. Just let's walk through and imagine worst case scenario on everything. What could possibly go wrong in this room? We even did this because you do a good job of kind of keeping things fresh, and you updated your waiting room recently, and you had some chairs out there that we figured out did not hold heavy individuals. There was a chance that those chairs would break.
Well, it's because a mom walked in. She goes, I can't sit in these chairs. This is not going to support me. And we all were like, Oh.
What is the weight limit on this chair?
Never thought about that.
Yeah.
Never thought I had to worry about the weight limit on the patient reception chair. Just didn't occur to me.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. But even that's a safety issue. Could this chair break? How often do we sit in those chairs out in the waiting room? Are there any one of them wobbly or it's uneven? And what if it kind of tossed somebody off kilter and then they fall because the chair was wobbly? And again, it's exhausting to think about that. And I'm not saying we have to think about that on a daily basis. It's just, are we periodically walking through and thinking about it from a safety standpoint?
So then my takeaway for that might be, like, right now we've been having the staff do that. And maybe I need to have, like, maybe make my husband come up to the office once a month.
Yeah.
Maybe I needed to be the one to do it once a month. Maybe if I have a lawyer friend, can you just come in and I'll buy you dinner? Can you come look at my office and see what safety issues you see?
Yeah. And thankfully, most people that are in more of a lease space and the building takes care of the exterior, we don't have as much to worry about from like a parking lot standpoint or things like that. But for those that own their own building, they are obviously responsible. So even like a pothole in the parking lot that somebody could twist their ankle in, or if they're having to walk through grass, are there those little divots in the, so those that have their own building may also need to think about the exterior factors as well. Yeah, lots to do, lots of homework.
Drama.
Well, we will have to hear updates as this progresses for you. I think everybody will be eager to hear.
Yeah.
As will you.
Yep.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone, but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.